What's up, Tutorinos, and welcome back to another episode of the Game Addicts podcast, a show where we talk about modern and retro games and all that jazz. This is episode 158, and welcoming here back to the show, podcast player 2, Mike. How you doing, bud?
Good. How are you?
Doing pretty good. Now, we had already had these episodes planned. We've been kind of doing a loose schedule as far as when you're going to make your grand return to the shows, but we knew we were going to be doing two. And that was going to be the Final Fantasy VII remake spoiler discussion, like in review of whatever you want to call it. This is kind of a review, but it's also just us talking about the game because we've talked about it a lot more than what we really should for this one. But we've you know, a lot of
that's kind of the norm with us, though.
It is though, but yeah, but for a lot of the discussion, we tried to save it. I have notes and everything. Of course, we're talking about The Last of Us Part 2. This year, we had two very big games that we were both really looking forward to playing. And we are now in an era where they are both out. We have both played them. We have both beat them. I've got the platinum for FF7R. I haven't got the platinum for this one. And that's simply because I can't convince myself to go back to it. Not because I don't want to. I do. I'm just going to get this out of the way for anybody here who's clicked on this thing and these guys are going to trash on the game. We're not really going to trash on the game.
Yep, so you might as well leave if you want to listen to somebody trash on it.
Yeah, like, I really enjoyed this game. But it took so much out of me emotionally, especially with where I'm at in my life. You know, I lost my dad like 2 months ago.
Yeah.
So there's some stuff here that fucking hit home. I did get the special edition of the game. I didn't get in the collector's or Ellie edition, whatever had like the backpack.
I should have.
I've
been scolded already. Why didn't you buy that? Because we just bought two brand new phones, paid them 100% off. Like, should have bought it. Yeah,
so like, did you end up getting the special edition? No.
They were sold out everywhere. You couldn't find them anywhere.
So I will show you.
I had to get the basic one.
I'll show you. This is what the steelbook looks like on one side, and then
I figured
the other. So try and get that in the camera.
Yeah, get it in the angle. Jesus.
Ellie and Abby. Sorry, backwards, you know.
Oh,
what I will say,
shit.
The only thing that I'm a little disappointed about is that it came with a digital soundtrack and not an actual soundtrack.
Right.
It did come with a Dark Horse printed art book.
Right.
For which I'm pretty sure one of the pictures in here is what we're using for the thumbnail for this episode because I absolutely love it. Some really good art pieces here. Yes. This is the one that we're using.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Her returning.
That's the background of my PC now.
It's a good one.
My wallpaper. There's a lot of cool stuff, and one thing that I really liked about this is that it does not spoil the game. Like the art book that I got for Mass Effect 3 had a slight spoiler in it.
Right.
And they did something in there that they didn't end up doing, but they made an art thing for it and they put it in the book. And I didn't realize that it wasn't in the game, so I was just waiting for this thing to show up, and it never did. But like, it's really cool because they get to show you all the different mock-up designs of what they had certain characters looking like along the way.
since we're talking about looks, the clickers looked phenomenal. They had hair. Some of them had hair.
So when you go through the game, you can get to unlock different character models, and
they look like Skylander pieces.
Yeah, like little statues.
Skylanders, and you can spin them around and look at them. And if you get like ones that are Seattle day 2 where it's raining, it actually shows the rain hitting the individual and how it looks really good.
Yeah, so they had multiple different clicker models that they used for this one, for up in Seattle, for not in Seattle, for other places, for ones that were supposed to be like this was a member of this faction or whatever. So they had some really cool, varied designs. This game is being torn apart online. And
yeah, most people haven't even went past the first 8 hours.
So, Mike, were you at all spoiled beforehand for this game?
No, I stayed out. I made sure if you start talking about it, I was like,
I did not spoil anybody other than John.
And then John spoiled like 3 other people.
He spoiled freaking Jeremiah.
Yeah, Jeremiah's like, yeah, I know. I'm like, are you serious? Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, John.
He was upset.
Thanks, John. Now, I got spoiled back in April, like around the time everybody else did. I tried to keep it out of my mind. It was difficult to because the big spoiler was Joel dies.
Right. Which happens like 2-3 hours into the game. So
yeah.
It's not like that big.
We weren't expecting that to be 2 hours into the game. We were expecting it's going to happen. Like they did, some people are mad about this. They did some false advertising for this game, or misleading advertising, where they would show a certain scene between Joel and Ellie, but they swapped the character models out for Joel to be like the older looking Joel, and Ellie to be the Ellie further on in the game, Ellie. But it was really the scene where like she goes back to Salt Lake City and like they looked different. So they also did for one of the for one of the demos where they had Ellie kind of going through this area where a lot of wolves were. Wolves being the Washington Liberation Front.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end, Joel grabs her, and says, you think I'd let you do this on your own? Well, that's not Joel in the game. That's somebody else. So they kind of they were doing it to protect the big hitter at the beginning of the game. Somehow, somebody was a QA tester, whether they claim to be like disgruntled Naughty Dog employees, which Sony's come out and said they never actually worked for us. So I don't know who they were, but put out a video on YouTube of the Joel scene, which is very unfortunate.
The GIFs everybody was posting where it was like, where they're just like outline drawings, but it's of that scene. I saw them later because I stayed off of all that stuff, but I seen them after all that stuff. People are starting to spoil people in GIFs, which is kind of shitty.
There's also one where like people will Photoshop other memes that don't have anything to do with but they'll put characters from Last of Us on it without any real context, but you still get kind of spoiled. It's that kind of stuff that I've really talked bad about here on the show. Not a fan of that kind of stuff. I mean,
it's toxic.
It is, man. The thing is that we can't let everybody just enjoy something, even if you dislike it. It's okay to dislike something. It's okay to not like the story of this game, and I want to get that out of the way right up front. If you don't like some things they did in the story, that's fine, and you have every bit to be entitled to your opinion. But don't be a jerk for other people. Don't be a jerk. And also, if you're gonna go and try, is there really? And this has been a question that I've been, postulating to some of our other friends and podcasters and co-hosts. Is there really such a thing as a real zero of a game? mean, I've played some pretty bad games. I've played Dual Heroes on the N64. I've played Disaster Report for the PS2. I played some real bad ones, but even they made a concerted effort to try and make a game.
Yeah.
It's bad, but I can still say, hey, I'm going to give it a few points. At least they tried here. At least it's giving me some entertainment for how bad this is.
Yeah, I can see that.
But I personally don't think there's anything such. I've never played a Zero.
I don't think I have either.
And Mike, we've had this conversation here on the show with Mass Effect Andromeda. This was actual like review publications giving it this review. It was like 7 out of 10. And then people were like, yeah, I agree with that. 7 out of 10. It's unplayable.
I mean, when did a 7 become unplayable?
Yeah. Like, when?
That's my question. Like, so what is your scale? So is it like your scale actually is the 5? Or, I don't get it. I don't understand, because any game that's a 7 would be a solid, decent game. An 8, solid, decent. 9 and above is great to phenomenal. You're in the 7, 8, that's a solid, playable, good game. 6 is like, meh. And 5 is like, yeah, eh. And then below that, obviously, you decline significantly. But just saying, like, that's kind of ridiculous that a 7 is not playable.
For what I want to give Last of Us Part 2, so The Last of Us Part 1, I do give a 10. I absolutely gave a 10. It is a masterpiece of a video game. And does this game get close to that? It's not fair to even put them close to each other, because they tell two different stories. And I don't give The Last of Us Part 2 a 10. I in my mind, if you said, hey, Brando, give this a number, I'd give it a 9. Because I feel like my real only critique of the game is that it's a bit long.
Really?
I thought it was a bit long. Yeah, and I'll tell you why. I love the game. The game is about double the length of the original game. But I felt like they could have done a few things to make it a little shorter. By the time I got to the epilogue section, I was just kind of like, oh, okay, so we're doing this again. I mean, they kind of set you up to kind of go through the same kind of levels of trying to get through an area, And it just by 30 hours in, I was like, okay, I'm ready to be done with it. Not because I didn't like it. I was just like, all right, I want to go and I want to do the thing, but I got to play the game to go do this thing. So I had to decide what I wanted to do. Do I want to try and make it go longer by trying to be sneakier? No. So what I did is I waited until 2 people got close enough, threw a Molotov, killed everybody, then went and picked up all the stuff, and then carried on.
See, I got to a point where before the last area with Ellie, I was able to stealth kill everything in the room, unless it was a bloater or a shambler. I could stealth kill everything. Obviously, you cannot stealth kill the freaking stalkers, because they're the only ones that always know where you are.
Yeah.
You can't hide from them. But outside of that, yeah, I never really bullied my way through. Most of the time I had too much ammo, and I was like, okay, I should stealth kill like 2 of these guys and pull the rest and try to kill them.
It just got to the point where the overall game length for the type of game it is, I felt like it could have been a little shorter. Not as I said, is it a deal breaker for me? Absolutely not. No, because I loved my experience. But I just felt like, man, we are still going. My gosh. Okay.
I liked it. I liked the way it was set up, because it shows that when the first epilogue hits, she can't be happy.
No. And we're going to get there. We're going to talk about story beats. No. I completely understand why they did what they did and how they did it. It just, the overall length I felt like, the first game was about 13 hours if you're just playing through it. This game was about 28 to 30. And I felt like it probably could have been 25 and I would have been okay. It was only that little bit after that part of how long I was playing it. And probably when I replay it, it won't take me as long because I already kind of know where to go. But I'm also a scrounger. I look at every little nook and cranny to try and find everything.
And you kill rooms that are extremely difficult instead of blazing through them like I did.
Yeah, I did. Yes.
I totally did that meme when I walked in that room and I'm like, all right, here's a clicker. I'm going to stab it. The second I stabbed it, 2 stalkers came out of the wall and I was like, run. I just blazed right through there and closed the door.
Meanwhile, here I am, like, Rambo.
If I had to do it again, though, I would use the bottle for the pistol and shoot the guys inside the wall first, then go through and then kill the bloater at the end. I think there's 2 bloaters in there.
No, there's only one, but there's only the one. But you've got clicker, maybe more than one clicker, and then you got the stalkers. So they make it more difficult.
And the stalkers come out of the wall, though. They're not inherently just there, so you can kill the stalkers before they come out of the wall. And self-kill.
And they're not all in the same room. They're like in different rooms. I like how we're just kind of like, we know what level we're talking about, but we haven't really told the listener what level we're talking about. So
it's the hotel much later on in the game. So probably 3/4 of the game. Yeah.
So this game, another part that people are angry about was it kind of did the whole Metal Gear Solid 2 thing. Not like they did it because MGS2 is like, hey, we get to play an hour of Solid Snake, and then the rest of the game is Raiden, this new character. And well, this game it does that. It gives you another playable character, but you literally play as half the game as Ellie, half the game as this other character. It isn't divided up where you play most of the time as a brand new character, and you're only going to get Ellie's story through like the beginning and a little bit later on. No, you get her entire story until it's time to get the other part of the story.
Which is the same days.
Yes.
By the way. So it's a 3 to 4 block days that you see one side of the story and then you see the other side of the story once those 2 characters meet.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yes. Now, Neil Druckmann said that, yes, this game is definitely inspired by Metal Gear Solid 2. Because he was he was completely thrown off when that happened, and he loved it. He's like, "Wow, I get to play as a whole new character." And he said the only thing that he thought that would have made that better is if they would have, for the last like 10th of the game, brought you back to Snake, and you got to play Snake at the end. Almost kind of like sandwiched it. So he knew when he was making this game, they came up like with that they were going to do this concept for the style of storytelling that we've already said. He knew already that they were going to go back to Ellie, we are going to do Ellie at the end and bookmark it or bookend it. This game starts off, and what I love is that there was like the day before it came out, people were already posting online video, and you and me were sitting at lunch, and I said somebody has posted like the first bit of gameplay, and you thought it was just the start screen. Like, oh yeah, right. I've already seen that. But then they hit start, and then it is the opening cinematic of Joel wiping down the guitar, and you're like, nope.
Turn it off.
Yeah. So at the very beginning of the game, we get basically the recap of the end of the first game, which this whole game cannot happen if the end of the first game doesn't happen. Essentially, it was the chain event. It was the pivotal event that set off a chain reaction that for all these different things to happen. And we get that whole story retold from Joel, who's telling Tommy for the first time,
which is awesome.
Oh, I love that. Yes,
and I like the way that Tommy's the only one that knows.
Yeah, and I just love. The one thing that I love about both of these games, about Last of Us Part 1 and Part 2, is how well all the cutscenes are acted with all the actors. They're very well directed, and these guys play out this scene. I love that because it's not just the guys sitting in a booth recording dialogue with each other and then they have to animate
They
it.
physically act it out. Like
they are sitting there. There's Troy Baker who plays Joel, and then there's I'm sorry, I don't know I can't remember the name of the guy that plays Tommy, but there he is sitting there, and they're acting the scene out, and they really get a chance to get into the shoes of who this character is, even though they're wearing like jumpsuits and balls and everything.
right.
But they get to role play it essentially. And that's what I feel like, with what I mean, and Rockstar started doing that with GTA 5, and then they did it for Red Dead. And then we see that with Uncharted 4 and Last of Us, Uncharted 4 and Last of Us 2. And I just feel like it lends such a more believable and human element to the game. It feels more like you're watching a movie or a TV show in quality for how good they are performing.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the mannerisms. You get the actual mannerisms of an individual, not something kind of like this. What you normally see, it's more of like a fluid motion.
You get the subtlety of when Joel is like cleaning the guitar and Tommy says something and Joel just kind of like gives him like a look before he answers. You get that, and you feel it helps you feel that scene even more. And I absolutely love that, and that is present throughout this entire game. Even for some pretty heavy stuff, because that's when you actually get to play as Joel riding back into Jackson.
Right.
Joel tells him everything, what he did. He killed all the fireflies. Ellie's immune. She was gonna die. He wasn't gonna do that, and he took her away from there.
And one of the best scenes about the whole freaking thing is at the end where he said, if God would give me another chance to do it again, I'd do it the same. Never even a second guess. And that's a heavy hitter.
Yeah. So the way that they told the story is they did flashbacks. To help fill in the blanks, because the main crux of the story takes place 4 years after. Because we play as Joel gets back to Ellie's little one-room house, which I assume used to be like
a garage
or something.
Yeah.
And he gives her the guitar, and what's awesome is, and I've talked about it here on the show, maybe even during the Last of Us deep dive, about that scene that they wrote for the live performance of the Last of Us cutscenes. And that live scene that was only ever seen live, it didn't get released online because they didn't want anybody filming it, was this scene. The reason why they didn't want anybody filming it, or they didn't put it out, is because they chose the Pearl Jam song Future Days to be the song that Joel plays for Ellie.
Yeah.
And they didn't want any copyright problems, it's like, so okay, it's like this scene will just be for the live audience. And they wrote it at the time as like a kind of it was funny because he wrote it as like and framed it as a one last goodbye, one last scene with these characters. But he was already working on the next game, like essentially in his mind.
He already knew.
So in that scene is like the first two lines of that song. If I ever were to lose you, I'd surely lose myself, is like the theme of the entire game.
It is.
Like,
it truly is.
Oh man.
And I really like the way that they show at what cost was this worth it.
It wasn't worth it in the end.
It wasn't worth it in the end. Not at all.
Some people have a problem with that. Some people have a problem with that. But at the end of the journey, the whole journey was pointless.
Wasn't though.
I'm with you.
The character develops. It understands. It shows depth to the character.
So
and understanding.
we go from that scene. Joel gives her the guitar, says, "I'll teach you how to play." And there was like that tension, the same tension that was at the very end of 1 is still there between these two characters. And it flashes forward 4 years. Ellie's waking up, and it's the day after the party we actually saw at the E3 2018 where they showed like the little dance party at the barn. And
that was interesting to see the after effects, but not the actual dance.
I was wondering if we were ever going to see it, or if that was just a unique storytelling thing. But actually, we do get to see it because it's a.
But you get to see all of it.
All of it, yeah. Because
why she says bigot sandwiches.
I loved it, by the way. I loved
it. It's awesome. That's like some bigot sandwiches.
Yeah, so we get to see all that. You know, Ellie kind of has a thing with this new girl, Dina. Well, she's not new. She's been around for a while. They've been friends for a long time. But it's just hasn't really got to this point between them. And what I really like is that Ellie is so bashful about it.
Mm-hmm.
And Dina is just the kind of person that's just like right out there in the open with it. Because
she's afraid. Ellie's afraid of what people think.
Yeah.
And will say. And this girl's like, I don't really care. I like you. This is the way it is.
Exactly. You and Mia both said that is a world. I mean, number one, like none of this shit should matter to anyone anyway. But even more so, when you get into this world, and there's not really a whole lot of good people out there for everybody. So
not a whole lot of people out there at all.
Exactly.
For anyone.
So, like, if you find happiness in anybody, you kind of need to. You should try to hold on. Yeah, hold on to that.
Don't get rid of it.
Yeah, because that's not everybody gets to have that in this kind of world.
That's something I want to bring back from before when we were talking about the Metacritic stuff. So, have you read some of those? Like quite a bit of them.
Yes.
A lot of them
yes.
are bashing on the fact that they feel like this game had an agenda for the LGBT. So
I don't think that it's the main.
That's what the big thing is. It's like people are like, I'm not watching this or playing this because of they obviously have an agenda to support them. Like it's a game.
They're showing that there's diversity in people. Because in the world we live in, there is diversity in people.
You can't just show only black and white. There are other colors out there.
The main character of Uncharted is a white male. A straight white male. He's Nathan Drake. He's an action hero. And everybody's okay with that. But the moment that you bring in a character who's a woman, not a straight woman. Actually, she's a girl. And in the very first one, she's only like 14, 15.
And she's really, still a girl.
And
18.
it doesn't, like, and in the main campaign of the game, they never really touch on it. It's there, but they did it, they confirmed it with the DLC Left Behind, right?
Right, and it still wasn't 100% that was, it was, but it wasn't, It was insinuated, but it wasn't like. Hey.
I mean, they kiss.
Right, but
but who cares, right? Who is that? Is that what defines Ellie?
No,
absolutely not. So why
her thirst for revenge?
Yes. Okay. So this story is about hate and revenge, and whereas the first one was about Joel reclaiming his humanity because he loses it in the very beginning, and by the end of it, he's kind of reclaimed it, but he still can go to that darkness. Obviously, we get to see that when he's hunting down for Ellie from the cannibals. We get to see how. Also, that's something like guys. I apologize. We're probably going to be bouncing around a little bit because there's stuff that me and him still haven't said to each other, just simply because we'll catch ourselves talking too much. I loved the inverse of the scene of we get to see Joel at his darkest moment, where he can go and where he's scarily comfortable when he's torturing those two fellas and doing the whole mark it, and then go to the next guy, right? Now you better point to where he marked, you know, and then if the answer's doesn't match, then you beat them until it does.
That was Tommy.
Well, Tommy does it in this one.
Right, he physically does it, but they talk about.
Well, in the first game, you see Joel do it when he stabs that dude in the kneecap. And, then he doesn't even ask. He goes, "It's okay. I believe him." You know.
Yeah.
But we get to see it there and how dark that character can go. Ellie does it in this game, and she doesn't have control of the room.
No.
It doesn't go well for her at all.
She got her information, though.
Oh, she got it?
We don't get to see all of it. We get the information.
Well, and she tries it with
Nora?
She does it with Nora, but that's more of just a torture thing. I was thinking of Owen and what's her name? The girlfriend.
Is it Maggie? Mel.
I see, because you have Lev and Mel, and I'm like, Bev. For some reason, I'm like, why am I saying Bev? It's not right.
It's not.
No, Mel. She tries it with them, and it doesn't go over very well.
She doesn't have them fully under control. Like when you walk in, and the scene that you really see the effects of it is where Tommy does it,
and they walk in, and they catch up to it. Yeah,
and they catch up to it, and the blood is still warm, and basically he tortured him and had him write it down. But the fact that Ellie's like, yeah, Joel told me about this. You have this person write it down, and her girlfriend's like, really? It's pretty dark. It's like, sometimes you got to do dark things. It's like not a big deal for her. But she can't believe Tommy did it. Because Tommy is always the nice, pulled back, collective, and Joel's been the one that like really lashes out with his feelings, and Tommy holds him in, and now Tommy doesn't hold him in anymore.
No. Okay, so what Joel does at the end of the first game, he kills the surgeon who is going to operate on Ellie. And they reanimate that with the current graphics, and it looked amazing. Like,
phenomenal.
Oh my gosh.
They also reanimated it a lot. Not just once.
Yeah.
3 times.
So his action there caused a reaction and pretty much set another character on her own path, and that character is Abby. And at the very beginning of the game, we get control of this new character, and they are hunting for a smuggler around Jackson. It's her and a whole other group. It's winter time in Jackson. They are staying in this lodge nearby. Because they got a tip, they got a lead about where this place could be. They found it, and now they got to try and find the smuggler. Well, she is super good.
At first, when they get there, they see the town. They don't want to go because it's a town, a very flourishing town, and they're like, "Hey, the others are not going to be okay with this. Like, we don't want to do this." But then fate actually goes their way.
It does. Now, Abby. What's cool about it is that if I was not spoiled about this whatsoever, I already knew about Abby. I already know who she kills, and I already knew how, and I also knew why. I kind of wish I did not know any of that because it would have happened, and you would be in that motherfucker mode where you're going to go off and you're going to go make somebody pay, and you don't know who this character is until way later.
The biggest thing is when they say, I didn't catch this, my wife did, but whenever they're asked, who are you, Tom and Joel, you hear one of how many people are there? 7 or 8 in the group?
It's quite a few.
Quite a few goes, it's the smuggler. I didn't catch that. Joanna did.
All right, so as we get to this scene now, I want to address something because, again, I have notes. I haven't even cracked into them yet.
Crack into them, yo.
Well, there is... there is a response online from a lot of people who claim that this game ruined characters, and this game is character assassination for Joel. Because there's no way that he would have just trusted new people and given him his name. So I have a paragraph.
Jesus. All right, go.
This is my opinion, and I will let Mike say his opinion. So, do I agree that this is character assassination for Joel? No. Absolutely not. He doesn't just trust Abby's group blindly. He is, in fact, if you pay attention to the scene, he's actually looking around the room and kind of sizing these people up. What has he been doing for the past, 4 years? He's been living behind walls in safety.
And they've been bringing people in.
They have been. How many people have they come across? A lot.
And they bring them into the community.
Sometimes they stay, sometimes they don't. Do they still come across hunters? Yes. Do they still come across other groups that are friendly? Yes.
They also gain a lot of trade.
Yes.
From those that they see the town, or they get brought to the town, and then they're like, oh wow, you got a town. Hey, we've got one. Blah 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
You want to trade, and then they make up trade routes.
Yes. So it's been 4 years behind walls, bringing in new people. Some stay, others move on. They've encountered hunters before, and Abby's group don't carry themselves like hunters. So his guard is down. He's still looking them over, but there's one person who he doesn't look over, and it's Abby. And why is that?
Because he just helped her.
He just helped her. She saved his life too, and she's around the same age as Ellie. He doesn't see her as a threat.
Oh.
Joel knew that what happens here would be a possibility. That somebody from that group would come and find him. The thing is that later on in the game, they even say that those cannibals, some of the survivors from the cannibals group, track down Joel and Ellie, and they have an encounter with them, ironically, when they're out on patrol.
Yeah.
And that happens in between 1 and 2. And it's like, hey, Joel's wronged a lot of people over 20 years. There's a chance some of these guys might try to, catch up and, get revenge. And Joel knew that this event here would be a possibility. However, it has been 4 years. Is his guard down? Yeah. For people saying that is unlike Joel, he's not in the mode of trying to get a girl who's immune across the country.
Yeah, he's not playing in secrecy anymore.
No.
He's established.
What I saw is there was the moment of when he says Joel, and they all look around. He says, y'all act like you heard of us. And it's like he gets it, and then it's too late. He doesn't know who they are yet. He doesn't know who they are. But he realizes that they're screwed. They get attacked. He gets shot in the leg with the damn shotgun.
That looked gruesome.
Okay.
Man, that looked like it hurt.
and then he's like, let me go. Who are you people? And she just kneels down eye to eye and says, guess. And then it's like,
and he goes, oh, well, let's finish this.
What I love, he says, say whatever speech you got memorized and let's get this over with. He faces it right up because he knew instantly that this was a possibility, and he knew he let his guard down. But he was ready to face that like a fucking man. And that is something like as you said, his conviction. It's there. He's willing to die for that decision, if that's what it takes. Because when you think about it, like, for him, it's a fuck up. He fucked up by letting these people in. It's not character assassination. For me, it's his reassimilation into a form of normalcy. where, I mean, he has a house. He does wood carving. We get to see that. He plays guitar. He's a part of a community, where when him and Tess were living in that quarantine zone, there's smugglers bringing in guns, drugs, and stuff. But part of an actual community with people, I wouldn't go that far. No, people
because
know.
he had stated he had been through both sides of being everything, and he kind of laid it out on the journey in the first one. And he basically was like, you can't trust anyone. He kept telling Ellie, don't trust them, don't do this, don't do that. And eventually, in the game, you see his conviction change to where he's more warm to Ellie. And then now he's in a community with his brother. And his brother trusts him, and he trusts his brother with his life. So he's going to get comfortable.
What I really love about the first game, and I didn't really say this in the first game when I did the deep dive, but it's so true. I do believe Neil Druckmann said something like this, where each person that Joel has a big encounter with on the way to Jackson in the first game is like a warning sign. Tess is a warning sign for, here's what happens if you get too drawn in to, and buy in completely into whatever this is, right? You get careless. Bill's a warning sign of what it can be when you are too closed off and you push everybody away. And then, of course, Henry and Sam. Henry and Sam. They're a warning sign of if you don't keep your guard up and let you lose people around you. So it's trying to find, and of course, what does Joel do? Because he had to witness Henry losing Sam, Henry's taking his own life. A decision that Joel may have not had the guts to do back when he was younger, but maybe wanted to do, So what does he do? He instantly tries to pawn her off onto Tommy. Get her out of here, because I can't. What's going to happen to me if what happened with Sam and Henry happens to me again? I can't. No. And then, of course, what happens? Ellie confronts him, presses that Sarah button. He's like, "All right, fine. Okay, fine. We'll see it through."
Everyone else has left me.
Yeah. All right, then I won't leave you. It's a little reluctant, but I think he made his decision. It's like, all right, fine. I won't leave you. He made that decision.
That was the decision to go that path.
Yes. And then, of course, it's everything that happens after that. It's her saving him, and then him going through the depths of hell to find her again. And then, of course, after all that journey,
he's going to lose her.
So Abby is the daughter of the doctor. The doctor.
Which I like.
I like that a lot too.
Because this is one thing I don't like about the community is, well, it's an insignificant person. He is not insignificant. He might be the last person alive that could properly perform this procedure and save humanity, or at least prevent them from continuing through the cycle that they're already in. To say that he's a nobody is extremely false and a naive statement when you think about it, because he is the center of that entire Firefly organization right there, because that's their whole focus is research and development to find a cure or to find a vaccination. And what do? They find it, but then Joel kills the only person left alive that could make it a thing.
That event shattered Abby.
Oh yeah.
She walks in and sees her dad. Again, we get the story told in a little bit of a different way, because when she kills Joel for that, we go from playing as Ellie to Abby to Ellie to Abby and then back to Ellie, and we are now Ellie watching Joel having been beat pretty much to death other than the last hit, and she is forced to watch as Abby finishes it. the one thing that I like is that even within this scene, the way the whole scene was constructed, it was constructed with a knowing of where they're going, because they were going to come back and show other scenes and flashbacks of interactions between Ellie and Owen, talking about this, later on. And this scene is coherent with that only in the first time you play it through Ellie's perspective, when Owen walks in and says, "What are you doing? End it. It's over," right? And then Abby takes the final hit. It cuts the audio. It's almost like if you get hit in the head and you have like this ringing ear syndrome and you can't hear anybody around you.
I still want to know what Joel said.
He didn't say anything.
Because he did. He was mouthing something. If you look into the thing, when they show the different perspectives of beating him, he's laying on the ground and he says something, and it's Abby's perspective. And she stops, and right before what Owen says, just ended, it's over. And then the moment that they pan back to him, he mouths something, but it's the ringing and the constant, like, oh my God, you're not really listening to what's happening. You're just in the moment freaking out. And he says something, but I don't know what he says. I want to know what he says. Because he mouths something. He says something.
I had heard that when they had wrote the scene, that when Joel sees Ellie, he looks up at her from the floor, right? Because he opens his eyes and he says, "Sarah," because he's so messed up that he just looks over and then his brain is like,
"Oh yeah,
Sarah." So, Troy Baker, who probably knows this character more than anybody. I mean, other than Neil, who wrote the game.
Who wrote him? Yeah.
But like when you consider that these two have had discussions and arguments about what the character would do, Troy has a very distinct insight of what he should do, and he said that he shouldn't say Sarah, that he shouldn't say anything to Ellie. And then when you see the scene, he kind of like opens his eye and raises a finger to her, as to, I'm not sure what he because he doesn't say anything. He just kind of is like, "Hey, kiddo."
He's saying something, but it's like he's just mouthing it. He's not physically saying it. He's just like, "Hey," or whatever it is. And I thought this is my point of view, during that scene, he says something like, "Let the girl live," or something like that, where Abby doesn't finish the rest of them off.
Well,
because she's the one that makes the choice. Like, we're not here for them, leave them alone. And then they say, we got to tie up the loose ends or they might come after us.
So some of the characters want to kill Tommy and Ellie. And the one that really does not, because Abby doesn't say anything until after this person really speaks up, and that's Owen.
Mm-hmm.
Owen says, what we don't hear when we play as Ellie, and we hear when we see the scene later on, is somebody walks over there to finish Ellie, and I'm not sure if it was Manny or who it was, but he's like, whoa, what are you doing? Well, we need to finish the job. It's like,
we're tying up loose ends.
Tying up loose ends. Like, like we can't just leave her alive. It's like, we came here to kill him. We did. We go. If we do this, it makes us no better than him.
But see, Ellie doesn't hear that because
she's still like raged.
She's frantic. Yeah.
And Abby backs him up. Says, "Yep, but pack it up. Let's go." And that is such a distinct moment, because them letting Ellie live sets off a chain reaction. Again, this whole game is a chain reaction, because Joel killing Abby's dad set her on a path of in a way, self-destruction. She became so obsessed with getting revenge that they joined the WLF after the whole Firefly group did, and she really dedicates herself, and she gets beefed
She gets jacked, dude.
Man.
Like that's all her whole focus is.
Oh, dude, that's all
100%.
She for when it's time, when she finds Joel, she will be ready to take him on. What I love is that over the course of that period of time, the 4 years, Owen, who is there right there with her, you know, it's kind of let go of that.
Yeah, he's over it.
We see scenes with, like, the scene where Abby finds, you know, again, a lot of the stuff is flashback, but like when that's one of my favorite scenes is when she's like, "Hey, look, we found him, Joel. We found him.
You know, we have a lead.
We have a lead." And he's like, "Really? You know, it's been 4 years, Abby. You know." She goes,
Yeah, and what's he say? He says the others won't be a part of this.
They're already on board.
They're already on board.
There's no way Isaac, the leader of the WLF, will let us do this. He's already given the go-ahead. And she has all this thing, because Owen's the one dragging his feet about it.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't want to do this anymore. Some of the other characters, Nora wants to do it, Manny wants to do it, you know, because Joel tore apart their family.
And Mel wants to do it, but after the fact, she is sickened.
Yeah. Yes. So, and that is why it's so poignant later on to see Owen sticking up, saying, no. Don't kill everybody else. That's not why we're here. You know, we are not monsters, damn it. You know, he was a monster, you know, and I'm paraphrasing. He didn't actually say that, but that's the point. You know, what Joel did was an act of monstrosity, killing all those people who were innocent, other than they were in his way. But when we play the first Last of Us game, and we are Joel, are we not, as the player, passionate enough to go, yeah, let's go get her, you know? We can't do this. And this game here was designed for when Abby kills Joel and takes us in control of Ellie to go kill all of them. I'm going to find and I'm going to kill every last one of them. That was from the very first reveal trailer back at PSX in 2016. And of course, the whole rumors of like, man, like, do you think Joel's actually dead and he's not actually there, and that's why we didn't really get to see his face? Wow, that makes a whole new, like, that whole scene takes on a whole new meaning.
Yes.
You know, where like he wasn't there talking to her. And
talking to herself.
It's almost like she's imagining what he would say. You know,
it's something that we said to each other, that she can't see the happiness anymore at this point.
So I didn't read the entire paragraph that I had wrote down for just Joel, because we're going to come back to it. But there's one thing I do want to say, and is that Ellie and Abby's journeys, they're mirrors of each other. Abby's obsession for revenge causes her to lose everything, and Ellie not being able to let go causes her to eventually lose everything.
Well, I disagree. I think Abby only joined the Wolves to get stronger and better. That's the only, Abby's, like, you know, they wanted to help out and have a community, but if you notice, she doesn't really she becomes a part of the community, but only with a certain group of people.
Well, and that's what I mean, because it's that Salt Lake crew, her old friends. Yeah. They all die.
It's true.
So Abby and why do they die? Because Abby killed Joel.
But they were all on board.
They were all on board.
So,
but would they have gone? If they looked at Abby and Abby was like, whatever, you know, he's not worth it, right?
Right.
Would you have had a couple of them to go, man, that's bullshit, but okay. I don't think any of them would have gone to do it.
I think Manny would have.
Manny, but he's not going to go alone.
No.
If no one else is on board, then they're not going to do it. Manny's a good wingman, too. I hated Manny in that first scene.
Mm-hmm.
And then by the end of the game, he was like my favorite companion. Like,
Until he wasn't.
yeah. Well,
And
but
so your favorite companion kills the other one.
yeah, I know. So
I thought that was fucking awesome.
again, we will get there, but we play a little as Abby in the beginning, but her main part of the game is the second half of the game, and we play as her after her revenge is complete. And we see that it hasn't really gotten better for her. Her killing Joel didn't fix anything for her in her mentality. She still has the nightmares of walking down that hallway of the hospital, going into pediatric surgery, and opening up that door. And behind that door is the worst case scenario for her. What's funny is that there's like that door. It actually shows two different things. First time it's her dad, like she always sees. Excuse me. But then another time it was Yara and Lev that she left behind, hanging. So that guilts her into going to help them. But no, her killing Joel does not fix her trauma. Her story is about finding a new cause for life, letting go of that, and realizing, interestingly, through the narrative of the wolves versus the Seraphites, that where she has dedicated herself to get stronger is not really the life that she wants. It's not really who she is anymore. Her finding that we are playing as Abby, as she is. I feel like she's truly starting to let go of that pain, trying to work past it, and then we play as Ellie for the first part of the game. And where Ellie is in the first part of the game is where Abby was, where we weren't playing as Abby when she was obsessed and fixated with her revenge.
Mm-hmm.
So we get to play as these characters in different spots of their revenge plots. And it doesn't work out well for either one of them. It's very unique. It's a very unique way of storytelling. And I thought it was really cool because the first game was done so magnificently that when you go to the next game, it easily could have been literally the next adventure of Joel and Ellie, and then he dies in the end.
Right.
But they didn't do that. They decided to give us something completely different and take a risk with the story. Because the first story in itself was kind of a risk for the kind of story that Naughty Dog had told before. And here we are. It's like, how do we make a sequel to the game that took risk with its story if we tell a sequel to that story and don't take a risk with its story by putting our characters in difficult situations? And and not only the characters, but we try to put the players in difficult situations. And what's the most ultimate difficult situation they could put you in? They kill the main character from the first game. Yeah,
I agree. I agree with it.
I thought it was fantastic. I again, unfortunately, I knew about the death. I thought it was coming later. It left me shaken. I didn't stop shaking for like the whole, like going in through the next cut scene, like until you are able to actually control her after the grave. I was still like, oh my God. Wow.
I was shaking by her going to the house. That was what got me, because you see the house, but you see something that you don't find out what it is coffee mug, which ends up becoming a very important part of the first game, where they're out doing their thing and they go through a place and it's a coffee bar. And she's like, "What's coffee?" And he's just like, "You don't even know." And then by himself, he just goes, "God, I miss coffee."
Mm-hmm.
Like he has, I mean, most coffee drinkers, myself, would really be upset if he could never have coffee again. I like my coffee. It's good. But the fact that last interaction that they had, that's a very, very important part. Because at first I'm like, why in the hell is she, look at it. Maybe she got it for him. What is this? It's not what it was. But it's completely different.
It was the night before. Right. when we play through it again, it's gonna be you're gonna pick up on it right away.
I was really surprised that when she first went for revenge, she wasn't wearing the jacket.
The first thing that made me tear up in this game was in Joel's house, and that's when she finds the box and it's the watch.
Yep, she takes it.
She takes it along with the revolver.
Mm-hmm.
And Tommy, who survived that altercation with Joel and Abby's group, he was just knocked out. He tries to talk Ellie out of doing anything rash, and Ellie doesn't take kind to that. Well, Tommy fucking goes, man. I kind of wasn't expecting that.
I wasn't expecting that either.
But I think it's so badass.
I was also really surprised that once he goes, you never really get him as a companion.
No.
I was very surprised by that.
Yeah, because you don't really see him until the very end of Ellie's journey. You do see him a little bit in Abby's, but
tearing it up.
Yeah. Anyway, so Ellie goes up there. Dina goes along with. Dina's the girlfriend, and how'd you like that first big open area in Seattle?
I really liked it
because
it gave you the grand scheme of the quarantine zone under war.
I really liked it too because it felt different from the first game because you had different areas and a big area that you could go to and explore. And whereas the first game is literally you're bottlenecked into an area. You pretty much have to go this way.
You have like 3 or 4 different paths, and it's like 4 or 5 different alleys or something that you're going to really be roaming in the little open area. And this was literally like a massive open area with small little alleys.
So apparently I didn't get the trophy for finding every location. I thought I found everything, but I didn't. In fact, after I was done searching the area for one night and said, okay, when I start this up tomorrow, I'm going to go and continue on with the story. I actually walked to this different way and I found the bank. I missed the bank in my very first go around.
I went to the bank the first time and then stopped. And it didn't look like you get through there. And I was like, oh, okay. And then you get the information about the bank. And I was like, oh, well, I'm going to the bank now. I know where that's at. But
it's pretty important to go into the bank because that's where you find like the shotgun. And you kind of need that. You kind of need a damn shotgun. No, I really like that section. That was really cool. Basically, you playing going down the list of everybody who is in the room, trying to find everybody. One of the first characters that you come across, I don't remember the character's name. He is the guy that Ellie slices with her knife and kind of leaves a scar on his face.
Mm-hmm.
That kid played in Uncharted 4 playing young Sam, which is really interesting because I recognized him, but I didn't get it. I did not get it until I played as Abby later on, and he was sitting there playing the Vita or something. I'm like, wait, that's the kid from Uncharted 4. I knew it because it was one of those things where it was bugging me. I'm like, who is this guy? What? I know him somewhere, right?
The fact that he has a Vita in that top.
There's another character, a girl that has it too. That
mm-hmm.
and then of course she's playing Hotline Miami, so they got the rights to use Hotline Miami.
Which is funny because that was in the trailer, the last trailer.
Yeah.
Last gameplay trailer that we received.
Yep, and also, if you shoot the Vita, it won't crack the screen. So those things are meant to last.
Right. So we stopped using it.
Still, though, I mean, you know what? Would there not be a part of you that would 30 years after everything's over and you find because there's actually a little part of wandering around with Ellie, you actually go into a cell phone shop.
Mm-hmm.
It's would you not 30 years later, try to swipe one of those, see if it'll still work, see if you can get anything working on it?
I don't know. I know I definitely probably get a video game system.
Yeah, well, I mean, they were around, all those fat PS3s that were hanging around.
They were in like every room. Once you got to the city area,
Yeah,
it was in like every room they had a PS3.
so we're gonna go back a little bit because there's a scene. One of my favorite scenes was finding the grow farm underneath the library.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that was hilarious. The dude had a gas mask pong. And then he also had a collection of pornos.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them was a parody of Crash Bandicoot, Smash Brandy's Coot.
It was good. I laughed for a while for that.
Oh, man. No, I thought that was really cool. But before we go any further, just talking about some of these characters in the story, like, because as I said, we're jumping around just talking about the game. What was, just off the top of your head, one of your favorite sections to play through?
I don't know. I really don't know. Man.
So one of mine is the Sky Bridge.
It's a good place. That is a good
Later on, when you're playing as Ellie and Lev's leading you on to this,
I would say mine's the hotel going down.
the hotel going down, the Sky
Because
Bridge.
you got that sense of eeriness of like, oh shit, what's happening?
The hospital with Abby's fun too.
Yeah.
Fighting.
Aren't you glad I told you what to bring?
Well, yeah. I mean, I kind of had a lot of those things anyway. And this chair, I don't know if you saw me. I just sunk. This is my wife's chair, and like the little hydraulic thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not very good. So I just ended up going. Psst.
Anyways, what you were saying?
I don't really typically use a lot of grenades or napalms a lot. Thankfully, I also didn't really use my explosive ammo a lot either. I would use my normal ammo. And so when you told me bring fire stuff, that's just like, okay, I just continue not to use it. And yes, you do need it. There's a super Resident Evil-ish boss fight.
I like the name that they dubbed it.
The Rat King?
The Rat King. I also like the way that they said there'll be 3 new creatures. Raw. There's 4. Because the armored.
Yeah, the armored
stalker.
The armored stalker. Because you have the regular stalker, the armored stalker, the shambler, and then Rat King.
Which technically, the armored one is considered the Rat King. When you look it up on the diagram that they have up, it's the Rat King, and then they have a name for the big guys, something else. The Rat King is actually the armored.
So when they're in the bank, when they leave, Ellie's like, "What would you do if you had $1 million, or like if you were rich back in the old world?" And what does Dina say? "I'd buy a farmhouse."
And what do?
They get a farmhouse.
They don't have to buy it. They just go take it.
Yeah, well, it's there. What I like, too, is that it's on the outskirts of Jackson, so they're still in the same area-ish.
It's close, at least.
Okay, so one of the characters who I didn't think that I would like that I ended up liking a lot was Jesse.
Yeah.
I liked him a lot more than I thought I was going to, because he's a good person.
Mm-hmm.
The only reason why he was up there is because he said, "My friend's problems are my problems."
And look where it gets him. Dead.
So Ellie kills the first two, like at least one guy that was in Jackson, went to Jackson. Leah, she was already dead by the time we got there, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we tracked down Nora. And we torture her with a pipe as she's already dying.
Yeah, she's already infected.
She's breathing in spores, so she's going to die. The game makes you do it by pressing box, which was another Metal Gear thing, where in Metal Gear Solid 3, after you beat the boss, she's laying down in the field of flowers, and Naked Snake is standing over her. She was the main villain of the game. She was the traitor. She betrayed everybody, and she's like, finish your mission. And the snake just stands there over her, and the little cutscene black bars go away, and then literally the game will not continue until you hit square to shoot, and then it goes back into the cutscene. It makes you pull that trigger, because then after that in the ending you get a revelation about the boss to make you feel a certain way, because now the game's made you do something, and now here you are, Ellie, and there's Nora's like, do you remember his screams? I hear him every night, and he deserved what he got. Mm-hmm. Buddy, I couldn't hit that square button any faster. And it doesn't show it, thankfully, because that's something that doesn't. In a game,
it doesn't make you do it once. 3 times you pummel her.
So, in a game that's all about brutal violence, it still occasionally does the whole trope of, it's even sometimes more violent not to see it, because now your imagination takes over. Mm-hmm. Like for a lot of horror movies, we didn't need to see the pipe hitting her in the head. All we had to do was hear it and hear her screams. But yeah, that messes Ellie up. She's starting to lose who she is. Well, also, every single time that I like that she's starting to kind of like falter in who she is and lose that part of herself, she plays the guitar.
Mm-hmm. To try to remember.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty good. I like that she comes back and she's.
Yes. Yeah. It's the scene from the very it's the opening from that teaser, for that opener teaser, which she's shaking for that with the adrenaline, right? Yeah, my God.
It's wild. There's a lot of good scenes. Yeah, I don't know. It's just.
All right.
I thought the game was good all the way through.
The second scene that made me tear up. The museum.
Yes.
Joel takes Ellie to the museum because she's crazy about dinosaurs, and there's even a space exhibit where she's crazy about space.
Is it a dinosaur? No. What is it? It's a dinosaur.
I loved it. I mean, he is her dad. Mm-hmm. He gave this to her for her birthday, and then lets her, walks her around, and then puts a space helmet on her. They have all these different helmets from the different eras of spacesuits, and they get inside the capsule of one of the old rockets, and then he found a tape, and it was the tape from the launch of.
He didn't just find it; he purposely searched for it for this specific reason, because he said, "You won't even want to know what I had to go through to get this."
Yeah.
So he went out to purposely find this tape for her birthday that shows that he's her dad.
Yeah.
To give her one of the happiest moments she ever had in a world that is not happy.
What I like is that at the very end of that segment, they make you play as Ellie, and it makes you think that you're going to encounter enemies, and you don't.
A bore.
Yeah. But then at the very end of a lot of these flashbacks, or at least these two, this one and then the one when they're going to the music store, it almost creates a dialogue between the characters where, like, you find notes along the way. It's almost setting up to where, like, man, like, am I going to fight somebody here or what? But it was somebody who got disenfranchised with the Fireflies and called them liars.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of opened up the mindset of her a little bit. Even though she was so happy that it had a great time, it's tickling in the back of her head. What happened? Why?
And she asks in each scenario.
Yeah. She and the first one, she doesn't really get too far into ask, but the second one, she does ask when they end up finding the two teenagers that took off to go help the world, and they didn't even make it an hour away before they got hit by a horde and got bit. And Joel lies to her again on that second time,
and she senses.
Oh yeah,
she knows.
Yeah,
she knows something's wrong.
What the third flashback is her taking off, going back to the hospital in Salt Lake City, finding the tape recorder, and it said, by some miracle, if we find someone else who's immune, there's no one else to do the surgery.
Yep.
And she gets, yeah, he lied to her. He told her there were many of them. There were like dozens. And that her immunity meant nothing. And that's where we get that scene that we've seen in the just regular trailers that they've swapped out the character models for. Is she's like, tell me the truth right now. If you lie to me again, you'll never see me again.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, that put a wedge in between them because he did tell her the truth. That
eventually does,
that was hard. Every single time that they brought Joel back after it made me feel like that first one makes you feel really good because you're going to the museum. Like, first thing, what does he do? He knocks her into the water, right? Makes her, and it's like, we got to swim. And it's a call back to the first game because she didn't know how to swim. And so you feel happy about it. And the second one, it's a mixture. It's like you're supposed to feel a little happy. We're going to go get guitar strings. And what I like is that this is when Ellie was kind of dating another girl. I think her name was Kat.
Mm-hmm.
And she's not really telling anybody. Like, some of their core friends know because, again, Kat's very honest about it. But Joel's worried about her, and he thinks that she's into Jesse. And that's not true at all. But Tommy's like, you need to go talk to him. Just talk to him. Right? He's worried about you. Well, at the end of that one, that opens up that dialogue and it causes like the confrontation with the lie. The third one is not a happy scenario. In fact, you are left feeling, oh my gosh, these two characters were mad at each other, or she was mad at him and broke up, and then he died. But the game keeps pulling these false cues to you by then showing us the dance scene way later and showing us, like, because they say that Joel stuck up for Ellie. Ellie kind of cusses at him, says, I don't need your freaking help. And then you're like, oh, that's the last thing she ever said to him. That wasn't the last thing she ever said to him. Again,
that's the last thing she remembers at that point.
Yes, because she is a victim of trauma and a severe PTSD. That's why this game is so hard for a lot of people, even for people who love the game. It's hard to get into this game and play it because it does leave you with certain feelings and reactions, and it's hard. It is a hard play.
Mm-hmm. It is.
And going down Abby's path, seeing that she wants to be a better person, a lot of people are like, man, they're trying to make me care about her. It's like they're trying to show you that she's a person who's flawed like everybody else in this story.
Yep.
And that at the crux of her being, is she a bad person? No. She's made bad choices.
Same as Joel.
Yes.
Is he a bad person? No. Has he made bad decisions? Oh, yeah.
Plenty.
Some of the things he had to do to survive. And you see that in the first one where Kim and Tommy, they get into a little argument. He's like, I did what was necessary for us to survive. Plain and simple.
And Tommy said it wasn't worth it.
Yep.
They were hunters at one point. In fact, that was what Neil Druckmann said, is that was one of the original pitches for ideas on who Abby was going to be. She was going to be one of the victims from way before, like surviving victims. And then of course the story evolved, but like again, it just like the whole point of playing as Abby was important because we get to see her on the opposite end of her mission and see that she's still empty. And not only because she keeps reaching out and trying to find because her obsession with this broke her and Owen apart. Her and Owen were a thing and they were in love with each other. And Owen's like, I can't do this anymore.
Yep. But what happens though later on is that it's over and Owen thinks it's over. We can finally stop and settle down. He's already pregnant Mel's already pregnant and he's like, I don't really care.
Yeah.
I don't care. And Mel's like all about Owen and Owen really doesn't care that much for Mel. He cares, but not like he does for Abby.
No. And that's evident. That is so evident. Going through the game as Abby, because you as you said, you've already played through the 3 days as Ellie. You're already one by one killing some of her friends. And one by one, she finds out about those friends. You actually come across Tommy in a sniper battle-ish, trying to get through an area, and he is laying down fire on you hardcore.
And he's smart. I like the way that they didn't just have him where he was shooting at you. He shoots to lead the infected to you as a diversion to be able to shoot you.
Yeah.
It's an awesome tactic when you really think about it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So the game had me go, oh my gosh, like on a couple different occasions. Like basically where it did something and I almost threw my controller. So when at the end of Ellie's story, she's tracking down the friends. She goes, they say Abby's at the aquarium. She goes to the aquarium. She's not at the aquarium. So at Abby's, right. That's Owen's place. Owen and Mel are there along with Alice, the puppy dog.
Remember what they said? You don't have to kill the dogs if you don't want to.
Do you remember what they said in the first one? Oh, you don't play as Ellie in the first one. In this game, you play as Joel. Lying sons of bitches, because you kill the dog, and she ends up killing both Owen and Mel, and then discovering that Mel was pregnant, and pretty much throws up, gets sick. Tommy and Jesse find her, get her the hell out of there. And after the entire journey for Abby going, basically, finding Yara and Lev, finding out who these people are as people, not just scars or seraphites. She starts coming around and realizing that I'm not for this WLF thing anymore. Maybe that's not for me. Isaac has this thing that he wants to kill all these people.
At what cost?
Yeah. Also, Isaac. Shout out to Isaac. Isaac is a very minor role in the game overall. He's only in 2 scenes. And he's played by a very big actor in Jeffrey Wright. Of course, some might know him from Westworld as Bernard. First time I saw him, I'm like,
it's Bernard. Yeah.
Doesn't look like anything to me. Like, oh my gosh. Like, I couldn't believe they actually got him. I mean, not that they couldn't get a big name actor, but the fact that, not a lot of times do they use big name actors. They use a lot of the guys that work on like a lot of these games, like Troy and Nolan and come on now, the guy that plays Master Miller in MGS5, he plays in every Naughty Dog game. He has a role somewhere. Robin Atkins Downs or something like that. Apparently, it's not a Naughty Dog game if he doesn't have a role in the first game. He played Robert, and he plays somebody else in this one. No, I just thought that was great. But Abby's story is about kind of her becoming disenfranchised with the WLF, and first off, it's about going AWOL to find it, because something happened to Owen, and then she finds Owen, and he's leaving and going to Santa Barbara because he heard that the Fireflies might still be around. And he's like, "Come with me," and she's like, "Are you kidding me? We can't just go." But then she's actually kind of leaning towards that mindset of maybe we should just leave. And it's not until Lev takes off to go get their mother.
Yeah.
In that whole portion of the game, I wasn't expecting to go to the Seraphite Island.
I wasn't either. That's why I said there's something big coming up. And that dude that you fight at the end, that sequence is awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Because he is a tank.
Oh, man. And, like, she slices his entire jowl open.
And like, both sides of it is completely hanging down, and he's still going at her nonstop. Doesn't even sense the pain at all. He just kind of, and then you get in that like battle on the ground. You're just like, holy shit.
After the island, and after they lose Yara. Okay, so the first thing that made me almost throw my controller was when Tommy gets attacked at the end of Ellie's portion, and you run out there, and what immediately happens? Jesse gets killed. Yeah,
I mean, and it's so brief.
Boom.
They don't make an emphasis on it. He just opens the door, and boom, he's down.
Yeah.
Right through the head.
I'm like, oh my God. And then there's Abby. I'm like, what the fuck?
And I like also the point of view of being Ellie. You don't see Lev.
Yeah, no.
Lev's kind of backed up, and she's got the bow. You don't see that.
Yeah. So what Abby says in that moment, we let you live and you wasted it. Like, she is so furious right now. Like, how dare you? You killed my friends. Abby's all like, and then we get the flash because then we play through all of Abby's story. What I like with Abby, she shows up to the aquarium, and you find Alice, the dog. And then you go to the room where you know what happens, and you see the water, and you see like the blood mixed in with the water coming into the next room.
Mm-hmm. And the fact that she killed Mel, who was pregnant.
Yeah.
And then the whole exchange.
Yeah.
She's pregnant. Don't. Good.
Later on, yeah, because then Abby finds the map, finds the theater, sneaks into the theater, attacks Tommy. Then from her point of view, Jesse and Ellie come out. She drops fucking Jesse. Lev's over there. He's got the bow drawn. Now we see from the whole perspective. And then I thought she killed Tommy.
She blows him away.
But I thought he was dead. I was like, ah!
But it went through.
Yeah.
Right here.
Yep. So the other death that really got me, Manny, Tommy.
Manny was awesome because, they're like, oh, he's in here. We're going to sneak in. And he just runs to the corner and just right through his head. And she's like,
it goes right through his eye, and it just splatters all over Abby.
Yep.
Yara shooting Isaac.
Yes.
Holy crap. And every time they do that, they put you in a situation where now you got to play. And like, I'm not ready.
Yep.
But then...
that's the point.
Yes.
You're supposed to panic. You're in panic mode. Like, what do I do? Oh, my God.
But then as Abby, when you finally catch up with Ellie, they make you have a boss fight.
I did not. That was the segment I said I did not like.
Yeah.
Because you're fighting Ellie.
Yeah.
After all this bullshit, you fight Ellie. That's the one moment in the game where I was like, I don't like this. I officially don't like this. But that's the point. You're not supposed to like it. And she beats the fucking shit out of her.
Oh, and she only stops. Dina comes in and tries to... Of course, Dina is now pregnant. That was revealed in, like, at the end of day one, I believe,
mm-hmm.
of their journey.
She's too tired to keep up.
And, of course, it's Jesse's. Jesse and her were together right before the beginning of the game. They broke up. Jesse, what I really liked, and this is what sucks, man. They go out of their way to show how good some of these people are before they're killed. Because Jesse is not angry at all with Ellie about being with Dina. He's not angry with Dina. He kind of gets it and understands and is supportive of them. And then
I really liked that when they split up and in the dance hall, they're talking about it. Mm-hmm. It's like, you guys been off on forever. He's like, what, have you heard something? The next day, when he goes and picks up Ellie, he knows about the kiss. He knows all about that. And he doesn't care. He doesn't get shitty with Dina. He's just like, hey, mind your ass out there. We all come back. Period.
Yeah.
Everybody comes back. If you get in a situation, you come back. Do not engage. Get the fuck back here. We will support you. I like that because it shows that he's not bitter about it. I mean, he may be upset, but he still values life.
Well, what I also like is that he finds out that Dina's pregnant. And it's awkward. But I also like how that's not now a problem. Okay. What does he say? He doesn't say like, well, this is going to be a problem now with you guys being together and me being the father of this kid. No, what does he say? We need to get her back to Jackson.
We need to get her back to Jackson. And then he says, my parents are going to be thrilled. Yeah. They're going to be thrilled.
He is such a good character. And literally moments later, pop, blown the frick away. Oh, man. So, yeah, playing through that section, Dina attacks to save Ellie from being pummeled. Lev, he shoots her with the damn arrow right in the shoulder. And then, of course, Abby's about ready to, like, finish off Dina. And then Ellie's able to mutter out she's pregnant. And Abby's like, good. And then Lev talks her down. What I love about this is that it's showing the whole time that we played as Abby and her trying to become, I don't know, a better person or try to find her way in life. Had this situation happened before she met Yara and Lev, nothing would have talked her down.
Oh, she would have thrown any remorse at all.
But she's getting to that point where she's starting to let go of a lot of this stuff. And even after everything that Ellie did, even after everything, killed Owen, killed Mel, killed everybody, all these people causing problems, where did it all really start? It started with Joel. And it started with Abby's obsession.
Something that I don't like is that Ellie never tells her what Joel means to her. Doesn't say, I didn't have a choice. He didn't give me a choice. It's just, I'm going to fucking murder you. They never really talk about it.
They don't talk about it. In a way, while that would be the easy thing to do, I don't think these two characters really want to talk to each other about it. And that's very human because you don't want to talk to somebody who's naturally trying to kill you, or like it's hard to come together and see point of view when you're so blindly enraged by this. It's like, he took everything from me, and then she's like, you took everything from me. They're still at an impasse. So it just kind of flash forwards to the epilogue at the farmhouse. They got the farmhouse.
Which I like.
I like that a lot. The baby's been born. The baby's name is JJ.
What's its name?
JJ.
Jesse Joel.
Yeah. Druckmann already said on Twitter it does not stand for, there is no junior there.
Yeah, it's Jesse Joel.
So, quite literally, as Ellie, you would have everything that you've ever wanted. Happiness, peace. The only problem is that there is no happiness or peace in here and in here. You try. And she's tried to let go, but she's not ready to let go. As I said, when we played through Abby's, it's her journey of trying to let go of that. And also, where do I go from here? With Ellie's portion, it was, I must kill everybody. And then in the end, she doesn't get that satisfaction. When Abby approaches Owen has kind of let go of it, right? Abby's like, we found him. We found Tommy. He's living in some settlement in Wyoming. He's like, Wyoming? She's like, it's a lead. Flash forward to the epilogue. Tommy shows up. We see that he's not the same old Tommy he was in the beginning of the game.
He had an arrow through the leg and a bullet through the eye.
He used to be an adventurer once.
He had an arrow to the knee
and a bullet through the eye.
Yeah, that's right.
Him and Maria broke up. He lost everything
because of this.
Yes. So he lost everything. He lost his brother. I personally feel that he feels responsible for Jesse's death.
Sure.
But also, like in the journal, you see that like Ellie can't wrap her head around why Dina can just talk about Jesse so casually around JJ. She wants JJ to know who Jesse was, and how like it's kind of cathartic for Dina to talk about him, but like Ellie cannot talk about Joel.
Mm-mm.
And that's something about, like you mentioned about reading the journals.
You have to read them after every segment.
Also, in the journal, she always tries to draw pictures of Joel. She also draws pictures of a moth.
Mm-hmm.
And the moth is on her guitar, and the moth is a creature of darkness looking for the light, drawn to the light. That's very interesting to me. Very, very good iconography here. But the whole scene with Tommy is like description of a woman living in a boat along this coast. Says she's built like an ox. Who else could that be? I'm like, no, we're done with this. And of course, Tommy loses his absolute shit.
Dina says we're done with this shit.
Yes.
Ellie
Dina
does not say a word. She's staring at that map, like memorizing it, basically. I like that.
She takes the map.
She does.
And there's a big confrontation between Tommy and Dina. This isn't the same Tommy from the first game or the beginning of this game.
Tommy is extremely bitter. He says, when we got back, you promised me.
Yeah.
If we found her, you would go after her. Because I can't. I like that.
So she packs her bags. She sacrifices. I love the scene of her sitting on the tractor with JJ.
Mm-hmm. She's looking at everything, the everything around her, and playing with her potato.
This game rips your heart out, man.
That's what they said. It rips your heart out and stomps on it.
Ellie goes. She goes off to find Abby. What I like is that the game also flashes back to Abby, and she like got some information about maybe a Firefly hideout, and she finds it in a radio.
Yeah.
And she finds the Fireflies. They're still alive. They're still out there. And that's very very important, I feel.
I like the way they also state, hey, we pulled everybody in. That's why there's nobody there.
Yeah.
You need to come to us as soon as possible. But you don't know why until you meet the, what is it, the Rattlers?
The Rattlers, yeah.
Rattlers, yeah.
So Abby and Lev get taken by the Rattlers. Ellie shows up a bit later. I love how she finds the boat, and she finds the note of Abby writing to Owen. Like, in her, I don't know if you lack of sanity or trying to find sanity. Mm-hmm. She's speaking to him, writing to him like he can hear her. I like how you go through the neighborhood and you end up finding the Rattlers by stumbling into a trap, getting sucked upside down just like Joel does.
Stabbed
with that tree. Oh my gosh.
I like how that guy's like, oh yeah, and it's like pushing her to get bit, and she's like, fuck you,
Yeah.
and pulls him in, and he gets fucking bit.
He gets gnawed on, and she gets a bite too.
Yeah.
But then no, you go track down the hideout where they're keeping all these prisoners. They're slaves or whatever they are.
They're basically slaves.
And I like that note that you find for this woman who gets out and says, "My husband died because you assholes. I'm going and getting a group and coming back here."
And they're dead.
Well, there was one dead, but by
there was 3 in that section.
Oh, 3?
Yeah, there's 3, 1 on each wall.
Because I found the one that was dragged with the note, and yeah, like you. So apparently, Abby and Lev tried to escape, and were put on the pikes, basically crucified.
In the water where high tide rises. But not there. They're high enough where they wouldn't drown.
Yeah. Did you walk to the wrong person at first?
Yeah.
I saw the girl with the ponytail, and I'm like, oh, that's her.
Yep.
I looked up, oh, that's not her. And then you go somewhere else, and you see someone else.
You turn around, and she's right up behind you. She's on the cross you can't see when you first walk up.
She looks so different.
Haircut. She's thinner.
Lost a lot of that mass.
Barely
Starved.
alive.
Ellie, like, how'd you feel about that whole scene? The ending.
At first, I thought that they were going to let her go.
I did too.
I thought Ellie was going to let her go because she looked at her and she's like, holy shit. Because she actually says, holy shit.
And then Abby looks at her and says, it's you.
Mm-hmm.
And then
says nothing else other than the boats are over here. Let's go.
Yeah.
Doesn't say thank you. Doesn't say anything. Just says, oh, it's you. Because she knows the day of reckoning has come. But she hasn't killed her yet on the spot. So she's hopeful.
You know, maybe we can get out of here, you know.
Maybe we can patch it.
Well, because then what is Abby's number one priority is Lev.
Mm-hmm. So what's Ellie do? Threat Lev.
Abby didn't want to fight. Abby's let this go. She's done with this. In her journey, she's let it go. Ellie has not. Ellie is where Abby was when Abby tracked down Joel.
Yep.
The ending fight scene to this game was another parallel to Metal Gear to me. Because I know you never played Metal Gear Solid 4, but the last fight scene of Metal Gear Solid 4 is on the very, very top of Arsenal Gear. And it's Old Snake versus Liquid Ocelot. And it's literally a hand-to-hand combat. And it's epic. And this is in the knockdown, drag-out fight that's in the water. And it's hard to do because they're making you fight like almost worse than when you were Abby trying to hunt down and be Ellie earlier.
But you're fighting in their terms. If you notice that.
Yeah.
Abby's fighting Ellie stealth, and Ellie's fighting Abby brute.
Yes. And she's actually able to overpower Abby because Abby's not what she used to be at this point.
But they're both. I mean, really, they're both. I mean, she's got the stab wound. She's barely freaking moving.
And then, yeah, she stabs Abby also in the arm,
Mm-hmm.
and then she loses the knife. And then while she's trying to like hold her head underwater, these two fingers, the pinky and the ring finger on her left hand, Abby bites them. And then of course, Ellie's. I love the music. Oh my god. I'm getting teared up thinking about it because it's the moment where they get to the boats and then you realize that's the opening, like press start screen or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's the boat in the murky gray. They do such a good job with their lighting and their sound design.
Ooh, bounce back when you're at the Seraphim place and it's burning.
Yes.
When you walk through that tunnel and it's burning and you just see this city on fire. you're just like, wow, that is, and it looks real. Like
Yeah.
if you've seen a really big fire, it looked phenomenal.
When Abby goes to put Lev in the boat, and Ellie goes to her boat goes to put her backpack in it, and then she stops, and you just hear like this like low bass, whom, like, oh man, like musically they're telling you we're doing this, we're going dark.
But you also think in your head, if you've ever had a thing where like you feel like you can't walk away from this. You have to finish it. It's that tingle, that back of your brain gnawing at you, like you have to finish this.
Oh my god.
Type thing.
And then when she's choking her and holding her underwater, and then the music crescendos in, and it's sad, and you see Ellie like crying in tears at the moment, and then right at the last second before she cannot turn back any further, she gets the flash of her last memory of Joel,
which is the most important memory of Joel.
He was, and then she stops and she lets go. She fucking lets go.
And Abby doesn't retaliate.
No, she's like,
she steps back.
You know, Ellie says, "Take him, go," and Abby gets in the boat and drives away.
Yeah, doesn't even think twice, which is smart.
No. I don't know if Abby realizes that this is the moment for Ellie, because Abby's been in the same kind of position. But she absolutely is. And
now we can officially go to the porch scene. Somebody already tried to go there at lunch the other day. The porch scene is my favorite scene in the entire game.
Mine too.
Because it ties a lot of things up, but it has a lot of jokes and things from the original game. And it makes you feel what these characters have been through together. And that even though, and Ellie finally says what's on her mind to Joel,
and
to his face.
And Joel says it back. Joel says the same thing back. You know, as you, like, it all starts with, what are you drinking? You know, coffee. You know, a little embarrassed what I had to trade to get it, but
yeah. And then she goes, "Well, is it any good?" No, not really.
But I mean, it's just it's that, you know, tiptoeing in, and then it's like the, hey, I had Seth, I know, and you need to lay off, you know, pressuring Jesse about my patrols. Okay.
And that's the funny thing is Joel's very timid.
Yeah.
He doesn't fight. He doesn't argue. He doesn't want any part of it.
No.
He just wants her back.
He says, okay. He's like, so that girl, Dina, she your girlfriend? Just, I love the way Ellie responds to this, because it's exactly how you imagine she would, even if there was no rift in between them. And she's like, no, it was just a kiss. It doesn't mean anything. And it's like, but you like her. And then,
yeah.
And then she just says, I'm so stupid.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and what Joel said after that the scene was already making me tear up. But when he said, I don't know what that girl's intentions are, but she would be lucky to have you. I'm like, oh, God damn it. They fucking hit me with this scene at the very end of the game. And
well, I like Ellie's response, because she's angry at him.
Yes. I'm fucking crying just thinking about this scene.
You're a fucking asshole.
You're a fucking asshole.
You're a fucking asshole. And he's just sitting there looking at her like, yeah, I know. I know.
And, well, she said, I was supposed to die. My life would have meant something. She
finally says her feelings.
My life would have meant something. And then he said, if the Lord had given me a chance to make that decision again, I would do it in a heartbeat. And she says, and I don't think I can ever forgive you for that. But I'd like to try.
I'd like to try.
And you just see Joel fucking break. And he starts crying.
Mm-hmm.
And he just says, after a pause, he says, with his voice breaking, I like that. And then she's like, okay.
And that's it.
And she's like, I'll,
see you around.
See you around. Yeah.
It's rough. Because in the beginning of the game, nobody knows that they've had this talk.
No.
And Jesse's like, man, you're old man, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, what do you do? She doesn't want to tell anybody. She's just like, yeah, don't worry about it. I've got it handled. Don't worry about it. I've got this all handled. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. When you have, the game makes you think at certain points of the game that maybe they didn't end on the best of terms, but you tell she still cared about him because of how much she was driven to go get revenge, and then to find out that that was literally the next day. Mm-hmm. When Joel died was the next day, and Ellie had spent all that time, almost a year, of just being angry at him. And
2 years.
I thought it was
the
one.
Second year. It says 2 years later is whenever she goes to the Firefly Hospital and finds the tape from Marlene. Is that her name?
It was either Marlene or it was somebody else.
Yeah, but she had a tape of like what had happened. And
yeah. So that scene, it hit me on a couple levels. It hit me because it showed that Joel was accepting of who Ellie is, without any sort of bias. Where that's what I really like about this, and this whole thing about it being just a platform for the LGBTQ community, for two characters, for Ellie to have this situation, to have this thing with Joel, where he's like, so she's your girlfriend, and he could be like a complete asshole and be what a lot of stupid people are in this world, but instead he's like, she'd be lucky to have you. And he's accepting of it. He doesn't think about it. He doesn't even question it. He's just like, she'd be lucky. You're a good girl. And with Lev not wanting to be a girl, and
the stuff surrounding the circumstances on why she did that is wild. Because what would she be if she was to marry an elder? Right.
But instead, he wants to be a boy. That's not... He is ultimately refusing that as a life. Like, you can't force me to be this. If you're not letting me...
He just wants to be a soldier. He wants to go out and fight.
Yeah. What I love about it is that when you go through and you meet some Seraphites and they call Lev by Lily, her old name. And there's that little segment between her and Abby, or him and Abby, where it's like, they called you Lily. And Lev's like, yeah.
Well, Lev says, did you hear what they called me?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And she goes, yeah, Lily.
It's like,
yeah.
Do you want to ask me about that? And she goes, do you want me to ask you about that? No.
All right, then.
I love that. That was perfect. And to me, that shows you, it is showing you diversity in people, and that we are not all same plain Jane characters. And in this world, it's an accurate portrayal of who we are in this world. There's going to be people who are not the same as you. And this highlights that and makes it seem to where there shouldn't be any sort of real abnormality to it. Just like in the way they do it in Mass Effect. It's like, oh, okay, so you have a girlfriend or you have a boyfriend. Okay, cool. Oh, you have a husband? Cool. It's like I'm sorry for your loss. It's not hung up on, oh wait, you're dating a man? Because that's not right. That's not right in our world, and that shouldn't be right in any other form of our world. We need to be people, and people are people. Mm-hmm. But that porch scene, another reason why that got me is that if I'd have played this game in May, it would have fucking shattered me.
Yeah.
With where I am in my life, you know, I just lost my dad 2 months ago, and a week before he died, we had a really good conversation. Not that we ever really had any bad conversations, but sometimes we wouldn't hear from each other in a while. It would just be long periods of time where we didn't call or talk or anything like that. And sometimes when we would talk, it would be very short. Hey, let me call you back or something like that. I got something going on. But we had a nice long conversation, and that's the very last memory I'll ever have of my dad. Is that really good conversation, and that got me.
Yeah.
Because I related so much to it. Because Ellie comes back to the farmhouse. Dina told her, you do this, I'm gone. I can't go through this. And because Ellie's like, that's your decision. Like, I can't make that for you. And she gets back and the house is empty.
Yep.
Except
but all her stuff is still there.
All her stuff is packed up in that room. She finds the guitar and she tries to play the Future Day song, the song that Joel, and she can't because she doesn't. I mean, she can learn to play left-handed, but I mean that's hard to do if you're not.
We only know of one person that actually made it work.
But I mean, Tony Iommi lost his fingertips and he plays left-handed, so she can be Tony Iommi. I did think of that when she started to play. I'm like, you know what? Just dedicate yourself. Just like flip it around. But no, it sends that message of she has lost everything, including a part of herself, including one of the last things that Joel gave her was the gift of guitar, the gift of music. And that's when, of course, she has that flashback of Joel on the porch. For a second, when it went to black and it started playing guitar, I thought that was the end, that she couldn't play. And then it was the flashback. And then, of course, after the flashback, she stands up. She leaves the guitar that Joel gave her right there. And then she just kind of walks off into the woods.
Just to wonder.
Yeah, well,
she's not going back to Jackson.
No. Well, and they don't know. They didn't write where she's going. They kind of left it up for interpretation for now. I've heard some people say that she's going to go to try to find Dina because the whole crux of that memory of her and Joel is her love for Joel was deep enough that even after all of that, she was willing to try to forgive him. And she's kind of hoping that maybe Dina's love for her is strong enough that maybe she can one day forgive her and they can try again. But I mean, that's not said. The actress that played Ellie said, I really like that, but we don't know if that's true. Like, we don't know where she's going. You know, she goes, if I had my way, she goes, that probably would be what I would want her to do. But nothing in this world really happens because it's what we want.
It's truth.
And so before we move on to closing thoughts, because I have some more thoughts that we can go towards the end. Was this game as emotional of a ride for you as it was for me?
Yes. Probably not as much due to circumstances.
Yeah.
But the PTSD was a real bad.
Yeah. Well, and I kind of thought it would be.
The fact that she talked about it. Said, well, you haven't had one in months. So, we're making progress. And it's like, to that person, it's not progress.
Yeah.
That person doesn't see progress. The fact that they're still breaking down, so they're still weak. They don't see that it's half. Instead of it being every day, it's once a month. They just see that every time it happens, they go inadvertently back to the beginning, and you have to talk them back to where they are every time. It's a big deal.
It's rough. It's really rough.
It's real.
Yes, and
that's something I've said. This game is raw and real.
I kind of feel like that's what really makes this game work for me. Because the first game felt the same way. Even though there's some stuff in this game, story-wise that you might not like about it, where it goes. I personally don't feel that. But if you do, this game succeeded, in my opinion, of making you feel the same kind of feelings you did from the first one, but from a different point of view, from a different story altogether. Because this game does, man, it makes you feel it, and it's going to be different for everybody else. Just like you said, Mike, you kind of felt some different feelings from it than I did, and whereas for me, there were scenes there that hit me in a certain way, and that when as I said, I want to play this game. I want to replay it because the game was so cool. I actually did watch the ending last night in preparation for doing the podcast. I watched just a video of the ending again just so I could see it and watch that porch scene without tears streaming from my eyes because I literally was sitting there like, God damn this fucking game, And then because like literally the moment that he started talking, like saying that she'd be lucky to have you, I'm like, God damn it, God, because the game's a tragedy. It truly is a tragedy. But the real question is, where do you go from here? Our buddy Tyler said he was a little angry about the ending. And
he's angry about a lot of things.
We love you, Ty.
We do. I miss you.
Yeah.
Talk to you. I see you.
So,
hardly at all.
He was wondering, where do we go from here? And I said, maybe we don't. And he goes, then I hate it even more as far as like I want to know where we go. And so that's my question to you, Mike. Where does this story go from here? I have an idea, but we also had an idea for this one with where this one would go, and it's not where we thought it would go whatsoever.
Do I have to have where it should go? Because I don't think it should go anywhere.
My gut reaction.
Good where it is.
My gut reaction would not be make another one, but I think they will, and I think they set it up to kind of make another one because the first one didn't really have that setup. It kind of left it an open ending. They did another open ending here, but there's one character that there is one hint at the very end that the start sequence changes from the dark, bleary boat to a bright thing, and of course that is the island where the Fireflies are. The Fireflies exist. They know about Ellie. Abby knows about Ellie. If they're going to make a third game, I think it's going to involve the Fireflies trying to find Ellie. And then I would love for that dynamic again to play as Abby, because Abby's story, even though her story here is done, her story is now starting again with the Fireflies. Where are they at? Where are they after? That's going to be like opening a wound for her,
Could be. I personally think that it should just be where it is.
I think they're going to make another one at some point.
I don't know, because of the backlash of this one. I don't think so.
Here's the thing, though. Okay, so currently, on Metacritic, it's sitting at a 5.5 user score with a 94 Metascore. This is the fastest selling PS4 game of all time. Because of the backlash, I don't think it's going to outsell God of War or Spider-Man. But there's definitely this game is considered a huge success by the company and by Sony and by Naughty Dog.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a lot of people who loved it. But I also feel like this is a game that could be serviced well with a sequel. Whereas the first one, I didn't want a sequel to the first one. And I'm kind of with you. I kind of don't hear either. But she's only 21, Ellie. And then they have that thread of the Fireflies being around. So there is another place that we can go with both Abby and Ellie going forward. It's just where do you go? And that's the hard part.
I'm okay with where it's at. I think it should stop, and I think Naughty Dog should work on something else.
Oh no, I agree. I think they should do, if they ever do a part 3, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it in 5 years. Let's put it that way. I don't want to see that be like, hey guys, we're working on part 3 right now. I would want them to work on something all new, all brand new, a new IP. And then when we're coming at the end of the PS5 cycle, say, hey guys, we might have something. And then by that point, there'll be enough time in between this game and that game that I'll be interested to see what they have to say. Because I feel like they succeeded in this game, and whereas a lot of people don't. And I respect your opinions if you have actually thought out opinions. I respect those. For those that are giving it zeros because lesbians, no, I don't respect that opinion.
No.
Anything else to add?
No.
So we went about an hour less for this one than we did for FF7. Not that that's any competition. It's just that there were things that we left out of the FF7 discussion.
A lot.
There was a lot that we left out. But I will say, and what I feel like is a huge sign of success for both of these games. These are two games, the FF7 remake and Last of Us Part 2, are games that made me think a lot.
Yeah.
With FF7, it was completely different. It was like, oh man, well, how do you? This is a big multiverse type deal. So now I'm like on the chalkboard doing freaking like.
You're Kanye in that.
Yeah,
shit.
yeah. I'm trying to figure all this stuff out. With this game, it was more cerebral and more emotional. Made me.
See, for mine was just taking everything that happened in 7, and then taking the original 7.
Yeah.
And then
Advent Children and all that kind of stuff and tied it all in. You know, it's the question that hasn't been answered yet. Why can Rufus see the damn ghosts? That's not answered. He can see them. No one else can in that room. Like, the main group can see them. You know, Cloud and all them and Sephiroth. It's like, why can certain people see them and other people can't? I don't know. But Last of Us Part 2 made me think about these characters. It made me think about feelings. It made me think about humanity.
Yeah.
And I feel like
that's what it should.
Yes.
Because of what it is. I mean, it's a game about losing your humanity and humanity basically being wiped out.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, Mike, thank you for joining me here for this special spoilers discussion for Last of Us Part 2. We both really enjoyed this game. We're both pretty much in the same mindset of where it sets. It doesn't really quite beat out the original in either one of our minds, but I felt like the gameplay was top-notch. I love the gameplay. I felt like it was a really cool add-on to what we've already explored with the gameplay for the first one.
I love the laying down shooting. I pretty much did that. There at the end, that's all I did. Because you could lay down in the tall grass, but the short grass, you could see just over, so you could bow that shit.
Yeah.
And I killed like 80% of them that way.
Hell yeah. No, the gameplay was awesome. I mean, the gameplay alone for this game is almost worth enough to get a 4 or 5. Even if you absolutely hate the story and say the story is the worst thing you've ever played in your entire life, gameplay is awesome here. And I thought it was amazing. But this is definitely a divisive game. This is almost like in games. Wake up now. Wake up. We're not yawning.
I'm here.
I know we've been going for a couple hours, but we're almost done.
I'm here. I stayed up last night till like 12:30, 1 o'clock. All right.
No, I did not. I was in bed by about 11. In fact, I was passing out at that point. The other night was it Monday night? I was in bed at 8 o'clock.
Yeah. I remember you saying that.
Like, man, what? I woke up at 3 o'clock going, all right, guys, let's go. And I'm like, oh no, I can't. I need to lay it back down. And then I fell back to sleep and woke up at 4 going, oh, my back.
Should have got up.
I should just got up. No, and now I feel more tired.
Mm-hmm.
The great game. It's a great and fantastic game. If you love the original and have been holding off, I don't know why you're talking. Like, if I'm saying at this point, you guys have already know the damn story. But no, I do recommend this game to anybody who loved the original. And I feel like, you know, it's not necessarily where we thought it was going to go, but I feel like that was a good thing because it, even with being spoiled, I did not expect when, and it still like took me. And there's a lot of moments like that where just like, how many games now that we play have us go, holy crap, you know, and just make us like, and that's good. They did a good job here. But Mike, thanks once again for coming back here onto the show and talking Last of Us Part 2. Not sure when I'm going to come back and do another episode. It might just be next week to talk about some of these news and rumors about all the cool stuff going on with Xbox and the PlayStation.
Mario Mutant.
And yeah, is there a game? There's a game out there being made by THQ Nordic that nobody seems to know about. And that Mike.
They do, because they actually finally said something about it after a year of nothing.
Anyway, yes.
We'll be done with it when we're done with it.
Oh.
That's the kind of response that I would give when somebody's like when someone like me is like, well, I want to know about this. I'll be done with it when I'm done with it. Yeah, right. Right.
Oh man.
I don't like your answer, but I accept it.
Yeah, man. We got some time off of work. You're gonna be going fishing and going on a little vacation.
5 a.m. tomorrow.
Oh man, you're gonna be waking up at the back dimples of dawn. You're gonna be up around the same time we normally get up on a day that you don't have to be up.
I actually be up earlier. I had to be up at 4. You get up at like 4:30. I normally get up at like 4:50ish, 5 o'clock to do, to start, because I only live 7 minutes away.
Yeah.
But you, on the other hand, live 20 plus, so it is what it is.
I know. I will be sleeping in tomorrow, so I'll be keeping you in my dreams.
I'll text you.
No, don't. Fuck you. I'll keep my that phone's going on silent tonight.
I'll just be like, hey.
Morning,
big boy.
And do you know what you'll get? Morning.
Morning. You won't be mad about it either. Just like, morning.
Because I woke up today at like 5, and even though I didn't have to, my body still like kind of jerks awake and does its thing. I did fall back to sleep until about 6, and then I got up at 6, and then I just kind of moseyed on out to the living room, sat down. I got about 40 minutes here for our kids to get up. I guess I'll sit here and watch some YouTube videos. Feels so alive at 6, when you first wake up in the morning.
Oh, I know. I woke up this morning all peppy, and she's just like, would you fucking stop? Just stop. I'm not ready. Stop.
Hell yeah. All right, man. Well, we're going to get off of here and get on with our vacation, I guess.
Yeah.
With our time off. Well, thank you so much for joining us here today to listen to us gush about parts of The Last of Us Part 2. I absolutely love this game. Mike did too. And we hope that you guys found some enjoyment in it and give it a real shot. That's what I should say. Just give this game a real shot, because I think it is really something special.
Don't follow the toxicity of those individuals that think that things should be one way, no matter what. It should be. You should be able to formulate your own opinion.
Troy Baker has been on Twitter saying, like, basically saying that, like, hey, like, I know that Citizen Kane is about Rosebud, his sled. So I know everything there is to know about that movie. I'm never watching it. Basically saying it's like, I know Joel dies, so I'm not going to play this game. Mm-hmm. It's like, yeah, no, that's only part of it, And then also he went on to say that he thinks that we as fans need to be able to learn when to let go and let a piece of art be a piece of art and ingest it that way, instead of us getting upset or angry when it doesn't turn out to be what we have wanted it to be or expected it to be. And I completely agree with him, as I just smacked my computer almost right, smacked it. No, I agree. And I feel like when you look through the past year of things that have gone on in the different properties, whether it's Game of Thrones, whether it's Star Wars, or anything that has garnered a severe...
You can even consider that to be the corona crap. Because of how people are reacting. Like, you should be doing this. It's like, well, what about everyone else? Like, we're trying to help everyone else. We don't care about that. I want to go to the beach and get my nails did. What is that? Why do you need to do your nails so damn bad? Nobody cares. No one cares. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, I do.
You know exactly what
I
I'm
do.
talking about.
I do.
To me, it's the self-centeredness of the world.
Yeah.
Currently, that is so toxic.
And that toxicity has found its way into a lot of different things that we enjoy, and it makes us. And sometimes it makes it more difficult to enjoy the things that we enjoy, and that's why it's important to do what Mike did and stay the hell away from certain things, because then hopefully you can not be engulfed by it and everything. So
I really don't follow that many people on Facebook for those reasons, because I don't want to know about it. Some of the stuff people I follow, it's fun to watch, and they do a lot of stuff that I like. But mainly on Facebook, it's for me to get on the marketplace.
Yeah, on the marketplace.
I mean, come on.
Get on there.
Yeah, I got a lot of good deals.
A lot of good deals, man. A lot of good deals. Go out there and make another computer.
Yeah.
You got the itch, and I know you do.
Shh.
Don't say that too loud. She might hear.
Too loud.
All right. All right, guys. Well, we're going to get off of here. I've been Brando. He's been Mike. And this has been the Game Addicts Podcast. Last of Us Part 2 spoilers discussion. We'll sketch you next time on the same Game Addicts channel, same Game Addicts Podcast, all that good jazz. Until next time, we'll see you later, guys. Game on.